But let's get a review of some of the callouts from stream today, which I try to not do callouts in the general manner of, all right, guys, get in, get out. I like to point out exactly what's going on and what we can look forward to. I like to point out everything that can happen on both sides of the story. Therefore, regardless of your bias, you're not just sitting there, blinded. You actually know what to look forward to. So here on SPY, when we were looking for that retest bounce, yeah, very, very indecisive open just because, all right, let's start with the daily time frame. You can see our main range is between the old high and our recent high. Okay, so that's kind of our current range that we're focused on right now. We have a little bit of a gap here, a little bit of a gap from overnight. And you can see after selling off, forming this falling wedge, which I don't mark these every day, but it is very nice to kind of grab pre-market around it sometimes with trend lines. And you can see after it did so, popped up, hit our next range, which again, these highlighted areas are just my previous day open to my previous day high. This one is my previous day close down to my previous day low. This one is just today's open down to my pre-market low. 3 of my major pivot point areas. This would probably be the tertiary one. It's not really as strong, but it is still significant. Adding a support turned resistance, and then in which we had a lower high form. So it was a support, we dropped, made it a resistance, came back up to it as a lower high from that resistance, showing bears are definitely in significant control of that area. And that's what we just worked up to today. But get back to the bounce and everything. What we did is we pushed up from open, hit that first resistance of that low of yesterday, that first highlighted area you saw me mention. They came back down, and look what they held. The opening candle that pushed us above that pushed us off of the support, I should say, not above, off of the support of that needed support. Again, if we would have lost today's support, we would most likely be trading inside of this gap range, possibly testing 405 to see if we can go test 401/400. Right now, we're just getting a buy reaction, and that can all still happen. This could all end up as a wick today. But overall, I'm just talking about what we've seen so far. And then after that, we hit our resistance, came back down, held that support with the hammer. After our inverted hammer, we ended up bouncing with, guess what? Over the last 3 candles, we had rising volume push into that next zone over that recent high, showing an accumulation of buyers take this price higher, confirming the retest bounce. You end up getting a continuation, and by this candle that I've circled, which we called out in stream saying that most likely a slowdown will occur, is because a big spike in volume happened. I don't expect it to ever break the first candle's volume because it's the opening price volume. It's going to always be a lot, but still a very significant amount of volume after we pushed above, indicating that this might be the top of our momentum. Yes, we could have pushed higher, and you can see we did a little bit, but not with strength. We pushed with low weakness. You can see here, this was most likely going to be rebalancing of the options. So let's say your options contract was like 150 here. It was probably only 160, 155 right here. It probably wasn't much more, even though price did move more. And again, that's because of the momentum of your contract. Again, you're not trading price, you're trading time decaying assets. These assets have variables, Greeks, all that good stuff. So they're going to adjust, they're going to move with momentum. But that was our big thinking for the bounce. And we saw the same thing on NASDAQ, QQQ, NASDAQ futures, all that good stuff. They broke above their trend line, hit a resistance, came back down, held with the hammer, and picked up with rising volume over the recent high. So even though this wasn't a big indication, this was a big indication that we were picking up with rising volume over the recent high. Let's go check out the only main call out I've really looked at today was NVDA. The main one we looked at was the same little wedge we had going for SPY, but they ended up pushing, hitting resistance, coming back down, just like we saw on SPY and the Qs, which Qs are just tech, of course. And it would have been really smart to go look at SOXX or AMD alongside this, but I did not do that today. And you can see after we had called it out on this candle, the next candle popped up with lowering volume, indicating that we did not confirm over yet. Next candle popped up with rising volume. That confirmed that we were over. So not these two, but this one. This just showed, hey, possibly slowing down. Think of it as a sandwich candle. Wait for that next piece of info to confirm you a direction. The next piece of information to confirm upside direction was a push with lowering volume, a push with rising volume, and a reset candle. Does anybody see what this reset candle held? If I just grab this candle, since this is the important candle, the candle that had rising volume above the 9, it happened after the sandwich candle, it got out of the squeeze, and it accumulated, giving me more indication of, hey, bulls might take control of this. What did that seller candle hold? The 50% control point. Again, it's just a fancy way of saying the halfway point. They ended up holding that, even though it had rising volume, might have faked some people out, it held a good level. Very next candle, rising volume, and we accumulate a new high, indicating bulls want to take this higher after showing indication of taking it higher and resetting, giving them a breather. And the 9. Good point, Kaizen. We end up taking over that. We get lower volume. At that next key level, again, zoom out. What is that key level? You know, sometimes it's hard to remember the stuff sometimes. You can see that's the recent high. Again, I'm not going to highlight it that big every time, but really, really nice to see that was the recent high. You get a small amount of volume. And then just like on SPY, you get another continuation in rising volume. So yes, it could have moved higher, but what did it do after that? Lowering volume, indicating, hey, I can take this trade, I can make a profitable exit out of this, and I can wait to see if I can get into another one afterwards. You could look for another bounce here, or for a reversal under the 9 EMA with rising volume. So that was mainly our trades for the day. We looked at SPY, the Qs, NVDA. There's a bunch of other stuff we looked at, but I wanted to at least record that for the YouTube.